right, well, welcome everybody to another episode of Exploring Nature with Matt and Marc. I'm Marc.
I'm Matt, and we're here today at Boyd Hill Nature Preserve in South St. Petersburg, Florida. This is really a great oasis out in the middle of St. Petersburg, Florida, which is a pretty developed area. We're about 10 minutes away from downtown, and yet there's all kinds of wildlife here. We've been here before.
Yeah, this is a great park. We usually see a lot of different really cool stuff here. So hopefully you'll enjoy your time with us today, and let's go explore.
All right.
Here at Boyd Hill there are quite a few trails that you can take and hike and walk on, so it's a great place to get some exercise while you get outside. You'll notice that the trails primarily are covered with trees, especially on the water side near the lake. There's a lot of trees, so it's not super bright and sunny. It doesn't typically get too hot while you're here, so you can really enjoy a nice walk with the family, be able to see some really cool nature as you kind of walk around and not have to worry about really getting too sunburnt while you're spending hours here at this really cool park. Hey Matt, here we go. We've got a little alligator over here.
Oh yeah, look at that cute little thing. This one's probably about, I'd say, 2 or 3 years old, and it's hiding back here. There's a lot of places to hide, little brush and things like that, and that's good because there are a lot of predators that eat alligators at this size, like birds and snakes and raccoons. Stuff they eat when they get bigger eats them when they're little. That's kind of how nature balances out. Wonder if there's any more around here.
I'm sure we're going to find some more.
Probably. And a lot of people think of alligators as being green, but if you look at this alligator, and here's another one here. If you look, they're actually black. And when they're babies, they have these kind of yellow or brown or orange bands on them. And if you see them out of their habitat, they look like they would stand out, but they actually blend in. It's great camouflage to keep them safe until they can get bigger and start eating all those things.
Look at this guy hiding in the duckweed. That's pretty cool. Hey Matt, check out this big white bird up in the tree here.
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. What is that?
That is a wood stork. Did you know that they are the only stork in North America?
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. These guys like to flock together, and especially whenever they are roosting. So we should see quite a few of these guys around these trees here. So let's keep our eyes peeled for them as we look around.
They must be pretty busy if they're the only stork. They have a lot of babies to deliver.
A lot of babies. We're about to see a baby boom.
Now, speaking of babies, they're roosting in this area? This is like a kind of a good spot for them to nest. We're in the swamp woodlands trail.
Yeah, they're very common in swamplands, marsh areas, which is where we're at here in this area. And they will prey on amphibians, reptiles, fish, everything back up in this area. So there's a lot of water back in here with the creeks. Oh, what's that?
Those look like great egrets flying back there. Other birds are popular back here too, I guess.
Yeah, cool. So look, here's a couple more. So there's been several of these wood storks that we've seen so far. But yeah, a lot of food sources back here, a lot of place for them to hang out. So this is just a great spot for the wood storks to be.
No, they're not going to eat those little alligators we just saw, are they?
Well, the little bitty ones, they could probably get those down their gizzards.
Might have to go back and warn them.
Yeah, make sure you tell them to beware the storks.
I saw a stork a little while back, and he was wearing an iron suit. Said his name was Tony.
Tony Stork?
Tony Stork.
Well, the alligators better watch out for Tony Stork. Well, if you take a look at these two storks here, take a look at their heads. Notice how they don't have any feathers on their heads?
Oh yeah, bald is beautiful, guys.
That's right. These are adults, actually. Juveniles will have like a light yellow feathers along their heads, so that's how you can tell the difference between the immature and the mature storks. of the mini osprey that you will see at Boyd Hill. There's a ton of them that live around here. There's a lot of nests, and we'll probably come across those nests a little bit later on our hike through the park. See if he calls here. They've got a really cool kind of whistle call, which is really cool. And there he gave you a little sample of it.
Oh, hey, there's a cool bird out there. You see that swimming out there?
With just his head sticking up out of the water?
Yes, that is the Anhinga, sometimes called a snake bird. Whoop, there he goes underwater. This is a cool trick they have. They can swim underwater. They don't have the oily coating, but you can see the price they pay is they have to dry off before they fly away. That's what this guy's doing right here.
Really pretty bird. They've got the white markings on their wings.
Yeah, no, this is a male. The females actually have the upper part of their head, their upper breast is kind of a light tan color. So they look a little different.
Yeah, the males are solid black, right? From head down.
Yeah. But there's another bird in Florida that you see that looks kind of like the Anhinga, but they're usually in more saltwater habitats. You can see them in freshwater too. They're called cormorants. But the Anhingas have this pointy beak, and they'll use that to sort of spear their food, and then they swallow. They can swallow really large things. Another thing they have in common with snakes. Now they also make really obnoxious, loud sounds, and hopefully we'll hear one making some of these noises because it's almost comical.
Yeah, they're very cranky sounding, I think, whenever they make their call.
Yeah, that's a good way to. Let's see.
Yeah, listen to that cranky guy.
Cheer up! You live in a beautiful park. Now, once their wings are all dried, then they can fly off, and just like any other bird. See if this guy's ready for takeoff. And there he goes.
See ya, Mr. Anhinga.
Well, Matt, we've been wanting to see a water moccasin on all of our visits here to Boyd Hill. It looks like we finally get to see one today.
Yeah, I don't see his head, but it's definitely a water moccasin, and I do see them here more frequently than other places. This is just the right habitat for them and just the good conditions to be able to spot them in. They like these sort of dry areas amongst lots of shallow water. That way they have cover from predators like birds, but they have a food source as well as a water source.
Yeah, it looks like his head is sticking out, pointing towards the water there, just underneath the little branch. I know a lot of times people that see snakes near the water immediately assume that they are water moccasins, or aka cottonmouths. What are some of the differences that people can tell, like if they see this snake laying there by the water, whether it's a banded water snake or a cottonmouth water moccasin?
Yeah, they can be tricky to distinguish, even for somebody who likes snakes a lot and looks at quite a few of them. They've got a lot in common. They're both dark colored snakes. They both tend to have some bands on them, although the Florida banded water snake that we have in this area is typically going to have more bands than these guys, but it can be variable. I'd say the easiest way to tell them apart is the girth. So our Florida banded water snakes are not going to be that thick. However, if it's a younger cottonmouth, that's not going to help you very much. And you can get some fairly thick water snakes because humans tend to see them, think it's a venomous snake, and then they like to get them out of the area, kill them or whatnot. And unfortunately, that's a harmless snake, so there's no reason to do that. I would say there's no reason to do that even with a venomous snake. You just have to be careful around them. You have to remember this cottonmouth right here is probably, if we stretched it out, maybe 36 inches long. But he's only like 1.5 inches tall. And so he has much more to be concerned about from humans than humans should have to be concerned about from him. He's not moving, he just thinks he's hidden in here really good. And he is. If you were walking around this area and you got too close, he might sit still and hope you don't see him, or he might shoot out and try and hide. The one thing that could get you in trouble is if you stepped on him. And then he's going to do whatever he can to protect himself, which is going to be probably give you a little bite. But if you stepped on me, I'd bite you too. So if the rule is, if you're in an area with snakes and there's tall brush and things like that, just be careful where you're walking. If you see a snake, the good news is if you've already seen it and you haven't stepped on it, then as long as you leave it alone, it's going to leave you alone.
Yeah, now that he's moved, there's a really clear view of his head there. You can definitely see the bulkiness of his head, the shape of the head.
I don't want to get the summer reading award, so I don't know. No, you do it though. You have to.
There's a water moccasin down here if you guys want to see it.
Oh yeah. I never
He's
did.
swimming that way.
See it? He's moving. Oh, I see.
So Matt, we've got to check out so far the swamplands and the Willow Marsh here at Boyd Hill, and there's just so many different areas to check out with all these different trails and stuff. So what's up next as we walk along the trails here?
So I think what we can do is we can go check out some other kind of random spots, and then we'll make our way over to the Pine Flatwoods Trail and the Sand Scrub Trail, which are two totally different ecosystems. We're going from wetland to upland, from wet to dry.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to see all the really cool stuff that we're going to get to see there. And I know I'm getting in a lot of steps here on my Fitbit counter. So we'll give you guys an update on where we are with that whenever we come back for part 2 of Exploring Nature with Matt and Marc here at Boyd Hill.
Sounds good.
All right, we'll see you guys then. Thanks.
See you later.